Hello, hello. Everyone hears me okay? It's already our my fifth live stream. So any questions? Let's check out the post first. I guess there's no questions, so I guess that's the end of the stream. So thanks for stopping by. I'm kidding. Okay, there's only one question on the post, and it's will you make videos on C# programming language? And maybe someday I'll make one, but right now, if you're looking for a C#, there is a tutorial that Brackies is making right now. So that's probably going to be extra if I'm going to start making one as well. Let me pull up that video. The videos that Brackies is making. So if you haven't seen this YouTube channel yet, this is pretty good YouTube channel if you're into Unity, and there's a lot of tutorials on Unity. So, and he's currently making a series on how to program in C#. So currently is at the 4th episode. So check those out. If you're starting, I think that'll be a good place to start. But yeah. Brackies has a lot of Unity tutorials. So if you even like if you're trying to make something with Bolt in Unity, if you can find a tutorial here, it will give you a better understanding of how to approach it in Bolt, because since Bolt is using the same functions and stuff like that, you can actually get a better idea how to use that. And there is also tutorials about things that are just not coding wise, for instance the tile mapping and stuff like that, using the environment, Unity environment, to create your game. So definitely check out Brackies if you're starting with Unity. A lot of good stuff. Another good channel that I actually like is let me pull that one up as well. So for Unity, if you're looking for tutorials, there is another channel, and it's Code Monkey. So this YouTube channel as well, it's a good one. He actually has made 2 videos on Bolt, and sounds like he's working on another one. So there's the getting started video with Bolt, and then there's a video about super units right here, and you can check those out. And there's lots of other videos on Unity topics. And he recently launched a Learn Game Development app in the Steam. So if you want to like learn game development interactively, that's check out this app right here in the Steam, and it's free right now, as far as I remember. You can get it, yeah. So you can get that and learn coding interactively. So that's pretty cool channel as well. Okay, let's see what we have in the chat. Okay, Unity win. Yeah, the fact that Unity got Bolt and it made it free, I think that's definitely a win for them. So, and that's that if I would be doing the visual scripting or no code, I would use that instead of Buildbox, because Buildbox is they removed the free version. Well, they removed the ability of publishing your games with a free version, which is it's hard for someone that is trying to start, that doesn't have money to throw at. Like, I've seen a lot of people that are in the same boat. Are you going to make Unity 2D Bolt tutorials? Yeah. I definitely can make a 2D tutorial. There is one tutorial that I want to actually show you guys. So if you go to Unity YouTube, let's actually search Bolt Unity, and this right here, the official Bolt course. I don't know what. Let's see. Yeah. So this right here, this tutorial right here is a 2D tutorial. It's a platformer, and there's 13 series. It was made 2 years ago, but I went through it, and it seems like everything that is shown here will still work in 2020 as well. So if you're looking for a platformer, or to get a better get some more ideas of how Bolt works, this is definitely a good tutorial, and it goes from beginning to actually having a platformer. So check it out as well. That's a good tutorial for Bolt. Okay, that's how to make a game like Rocket Sky. And what are you interested to make it? Rocket Sky. So Rocket Sky, I guess that's the game that is created by Quali. And yeah, it's an idle game. Or you might consider it a clicker based on how their gameplay, that the most efficient way of flying is set up. You have to click and release at small speeds to get the maximum out of the fuel. But yeah, I mean, this is to make this. So that they have the idle. Let me see. So you just fly. Where is the menu? So this how the gameplay looks like. So you have your upgrades, your speed, fuel, earnings, and offline, and that just tweaks the some of the parameters of the speed that the rocket is traveling at, and the how much fuel you have, and the maximum speed. So there's 2 gauges right here. So you have the maximum speed. Basically, if you exceed that maximum speed, it will explode. And then you have the fuel gauge right here. So those 2 gauges you would create using like a bar that is used in progression in Buildbox. In Unity, you would create those bars using progress bar. So you can, or I mean, if you want to create it from scratch, you just use two game objects, so background and an overlay, and you can use the fill option for filling in that bar. There's nothing much in this game actually, so it's pretty simple to make, but it's just a specific type, I guess, because it's just if you make this type of game, it's just like this bar, the explosion bar. Yeah, I don't see where else you would create this kind of gameplay. So it accelerates, and once the acceleration exceeds, once the speed exceeds a certain speed, then you would actually explode. The fuel, yeah, you might use the fuel bars in some places as well. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. So I can walk you through how to actually create it. So you would use you would set up a movement. So once on click, basically you would just start moving, and then you would increase the speed when you have it pressed. So you have some acceleration that you have constantly, and in Bolt you would use force to do that. So just constant force applying to it, so it would actually continue accelerating. And in a Buildbox, you can use the percentage acceleration or points acceleration to do that. The points acceleration is gonna not, well, in here I think it's more like a percentage acceleration. And the problem is, well, actually there is a node that you can use for speedometer that you can increase for the explosion to happen. So there is a speedometer node in Bolt. No, not in Bolt. In Buildbox, there's a speedometer node in Buildbox that you can use when it exceeds certain speed to actually cause the explosion. In Bolt, you just would compare it to a speed value. So it's just comparing a velocity in the y-axis with the velocity that you upgraded. It's actually a little bit easier to make it in Bolt than in Buildbox, because the upgrade options, there aren't actually nodes that can accept the inputs for the upgrade to work. For instance, if you want to increase increase the maximum speed, you need to, in Buildbox, you'll need to modify what's the compare value in the speedometer, and there isn't an input for that, so you're gonna have to code that in to modify it. In Bolt, you can just increment some kind of variable and then compare that with your current velocity. So it's a bit simpler to do. Same thing with the gauge. You would use those values. So whatever your speed upgrade is currently at, and you would divide it by your current speed, and that will tell you how much the bar is filled. For the fuel, it is it's basically just how much time can you have the is touch pressed. So you're just if the upgrade whenever you upgrade, you just can press the button for press on the rocket for a longer time, and so you're just counting down the seconds or whatever whatever the units you're using for the fuel. And that's that. Earnings, it's just multiplier that you use based on the distance. So the earnings here are per distance. So if you fly 1 unit, you get $1, and whenever you multiply your earnings, when you upgrade your earnings, you multiply whatever the distance you travel by the earnings multiplier. The offline mode just uses the time that you're not in the game. So in Buildbox, there isn't something built in yet, but you can use the JavaScript's data object. So you can create a new date object. You can create a new date instance and save that as a variable in your game. And the next time when the game launches, the first thing you would do is check if what was the time difference between the last play and the game entered. Basically, when you enter the game, you check that time difference, and that's what you would use to calculate how much earnings they earned per minute. But yeah, that's also, you're gonna have to code that. And the distance travel is just, yeah, there's nothing different about the distance travels here. Okay, so that's like a quick long explanation, I guess. Press enter by accident. Okay, finally starting the live stream. Where can we ask questions? Yeah, if you have any questions, you can ask the questions in the chat, in the live chat. Okay, I need help with integrating a joypad on a mobile app with Bolt. What exactly a joypad? Is there a library that you're trying to use, or what? Okay, so the joypad. Let me pull up. So I did do a video on, I think it was touch input, the video about touch input. I did a video on the touch input for the tractor game, and if you actually download the template from the itch.io, the touch is actually upgraded. I did upgrade the touch, and it's more like a joystick right now, and I'll show you what I mean. Let me look at the next questions. Look, can you please make a tutorial on how to make a lump? So the node, there is this graph right here, mouse joystick, I called it, joystick. And the difference that I made here. So first, it's a super unit, so you can use it in your other graphs. And the output is there's a boolean for is mouse pressed or not, and then you get the x output, x out and y out. You can you can create if you want to limit that to a unit circle, so and not make it so that it doesn't exceed 1. You can do that. Actually, well, I'm okay. So I do limit, I guess, right here to 1 and -1, but there's one thing that I do not limit here, is the fact that if you go, it doesn't draw a circle. So if you use this, you use these inputs, it's actually going to draw a square. So you'll be able to get -1 and in x and -1 in y. So, and that will be greater. If you're going to use that for travel purposes, that's going to give you faster speed. So instead of 1, it's going to give you a square root of 2. The speed is going to be square root of 2, which is going to be higher than 1. So if you want to limit that, you'll have to create. Well, actually, let me show what I mean. So you have to go to the player is the one that is implementing it. Full screen. So right here, so I have the move joystick right here. This is the super unit that I was just showing. And the main difference that I have that I did, it's the fact that you can press your initial press can be anywhere on the screen, and the 0 is going to be calculated based on your initial click. So it's just one of those. Let me see if I can disable the music. Okay, I actually have the ability. Okay, so you can see I can press it up here and it's still centered. The initial one that I showed in the tutorial, it was only calculating from the center. So you had to click in the center, and that's where the initial point was calculating, and based on where the mouse was clicked on, it would treat that as basically a direction where you pointed. But I did modify it so that anywhere you click, it actually uses a joystick. And you can see also I used the Y position for changing the light, the angle of the light. Those parts I did not cover in the tutorials, but that was just something that I did. So about the unit circle. So the outputs here will be from -1 to 1, and whenever you're at the top corner, you will get -1, or like 1 and 1, which is going to have a bigger magnitude than 1. And to limit that, you actually need to normalize it. So first, you'll have to create a vector 2. Let me see. Okay, so create vector. Let's just create with so first you'll have to create a vector, and then what you'll want to do is use normalize. So normalize and vector 2 or vector 3. So use this function, and the output here will basically will convert any input that you have here. It'll convert it to have a magnitude of 1. So you'll actually get a circle out of this. So the limitation is going to be a circle, not a square. So that's the only thing that you'll have to add onto this mouse joystick to make it feel like a I guess a joypad. Hello, can you please make a tutorial on how to make a lobby like PUBG, Solo and Squad? I'm not really sure what you're asking here. So if you have some specific about something from a game, I'll write a little bit more description so I can understand exactly what you mean. And yeah, I'll go through all the comments so you don't have to repeat it multiple times. How to go to the next level when all enemies is defeated, and how to appear on an object in which if it collide. How to appear an object in which it collide and go to next level when all the enemies are defeated in the Buildbox. How to, I'm not sure about the second part. How to appear an object in which it collide and go to next level. All the enemies. Yeah, I'm not sure about the whole appear. I'm not really getting what you're trying to do there. But the next level, so you can use a global counter, I guess, or a threshold. So let's pull up Buildbox, and I guess we'll just use a 3D world. Okay, so here is our 3D world, and I can go to cube, I'm just gonna show the options that you have. So you can use signal options for that. So signal filter threshold. So you can use this signal threshold right here. And the way you would use a single threshold is basically you need to specify how much enemies you have in your level. So if it's a level, you specify how much. So if you have 5, you can specify 5. If it's gonna be different for each level, then what I would suggest is instead of making it on the player, because the player is gonna be probably in your start scene. So instead of making it on the player, you'd make another object, just any object. So I guess you can even duplicate the cube and have it like a level config or something like that. Level config. So have it like something like level config. Just no, I don't want to here. And you would add it into your first level. So not in the start scene, because the start scene will be loaded with every level. But the level 1 and level 2 are going to be loaded with the levels. So it's just going to be whenever the levels loaded, that's when those scenes are loaded. So you would just use just drop it here, and inside here you'd have nothing. So it's just you just want to have it there. And the 3D model as well, you can just remove it. So you can, there is nothing showing it. It just contains the logic that you want for your level. And here for your signal threshold, you would enable the pin. So you pin this value right here, threshold, and that will let you change the value of how much enemies you have in a level from the level config object that you dropped here. So for instance, if I want in level 1, I want to have 5 enemies, you can just threshold set to 5. And then at level 2, if you want to have 10 enemies, you can change that to 10. And now basically in level 1 you have 5, and in level 10 in level 2 you have 10. So you have that configuration item right here, and you can configure it, and the logic of what you do with it, that's basically is gonna be the same. So you would use a send. Well, actually no, you'll use a send and receive. So the send event will be on the enemy side. So whenever you destroy an enemy or kill an enemy, you would actually send an event, and here you would get that event. So, and this way you'll be able to count how much enemies this way you'll be able to count basically how much enemies you need to destroy before that actually the event gets triggered. So before the output gets triggered. And the output, what you want to do in the output, you would create your next what is it? I think it's the level selector. Yeah. So you'll use the trigger the next level. You need to also have a level selector somewhere else that has the enabled on, because the enable is what's gonna load the level, and the enable portion of it should it needs to be triggered inside the start scene. So inside the start scene, on our on our player or something that is inside the start scene, it should have the level selector, and the enable should be turned on start. Yeah, you can check out more information about the whole level system on my video, the tutorial video. I go through details and actually show a demonstration how the whole thing works, but it just a quick note here. And yeah, so you do the level selector, you click select the next level, and what you want to do is I guess you would use the event observer, do a menu jump, and the name, I guess, next level, or if you're doing level complete, you can just do level complete, whatever UI you're going to display after they complete the level. So next level, and you need to basically load the screen again. So that's the setup, and yeah, the most important part of it is right here, this signal threshold. And the reason why I use a signal threshold instead of a global counter, so global counter, instead of using a global counter, because the global counter is actually written to settings, and it will be stored on your device. So if you turn off the game in the middle of a level, the next time you turn the game on, it will continue counting until it triggers it. So if you killed 3 enemies and then you turn off the game, when you turn on the game, your game's going to start from the level where you left off, but there are going to be still probably 5 enemies. But your global counter is going to be at 3. So as soon as you kill 2 enemies, it's going to trigger the next level. So that's going to throw people off. So that's the setup that I would use for the enemy defeat into the next level. But yeah, I'm not sure about the second part of it. What you mean there? Not really clear. Can you show how to make easy and hard mode with speeds? When press UI button to switch the speed, or just time wrap or character? I tried with set time wrap, but I make mistake. So the time wrap, the time wrap in Buildbox, it works a little bit weird, I guess you may say. The fact that it affects only the physics. So everything that is controlled by physics, so if you have dynamic physics on it, on objects that you have dynamic physics, the time wrap is going to actually affect it. So it's going to slow down, create slow-mo. But anything that you actually don't have physics and you're moving it, it's not going to slow it down. So you have to always keep that in mind. So if you have if your character is a kinematic object, it will that time wrap will not affect the character, and anything that it has basically so any timers or anything that you have in your game will not change. So that's kind of I guess a harder thing to think about. Because when you slow down time, you're assuming that anything that is involved with time is slowed down, but that's not the case. The time is actually just continuing to run at the same speed. It's just the physics. Physics is the only thing that slows down. So I wouldn't use And because of that, I would use a time wrap, because you'll have that that problem of your logic. For instance, anywhere you have delays or anything like that, you might see that it's not running as you expected. But yeah, so you would use a easy hard. I would use just changing the speed. So if your character is traveling at a certain speed, based on the setting that you have, you can change that. Now, if you have the option of changing it during the gameplay, so if you're currently in the game, you would just use a switch, like you mentioned. So you just use a switch, and based on the toggle, you would just switch between the move nodes that you use. So move right here, you have one move speed for for instance, the 1.5 is going to be the easy, and the hard is going to be 3. So you can just set it to 3. And the input here, I guess you can just use a UI button. You can just have a UI button and treat it as a toggle UI button, meaning that the UI button has both values. So you have something like you would have something like easy hard. So easy / hard, that's what your UI button would say. So because it's a toggle, that's if you switch during the gameplay. Now if you want to switch outside, so for instance, if you want to switch it in your main menu before you start the game or you restart the game, that's a little bit different. So you can use like worlds to do that, but I personally wouldn't, because of this, just one of these features. I would not use a world to create fast and slow if you're just switching between move. If there are other options that you're changing, then yeah, you might consider using another world for a hard. So if you like want to have a different level design, have more enemies in levels, or like making tighter spaces to pass by or something like that, then yeah, you would consider using a world for that. But if it's just the speed of the character that we're talking about, I would go with using a variable. So if you and it's just a Boolean variable that I would use. So for that, check out the video on, let me see if I can pull that up. So the video that I'm talking about is so the video that I'm talking about is on the variables. So let me see if I can find it. So this one right here. So the variable save and a variable load. So check that video out, because I show there how you can save values in the game. So you can save, I think I was using the draw template to open doors, and it saves the state of the door, if it's open or not. And basically you would on UI button in your main screen, not main screen, in your menu, you would use to set which option you are actually want to run, and based on that, and based on the true or false, you would enable one or the other move. So at the end it will look like, let me see, variable load, I think, right? Yeah. So you would use variable load. So on start, instead of using the UI, you'd use variable load, and the variable load is going to give you a Boolean output. So the only thing that you need is signal invert. So based on what you so one value is going to go here, and the other value is going to go here. So if the value that you store for, so global settings and the variable name, we can use mode, I guess. Yeah, variable name, you can just use mode. And if the variable is true, if it's set to true, then you will go to move. If the variable is false, it will be inverted and converted to true, and it will send this one to be used. So basically this how it's going to look in the gameplay, but the saving part of the variable, you would do that in the main menu. Do you know any other YouTubers who make tutorials with Bolt? So I did show you that full series of the 13 episodes on Bolt platformer. The Code Monkey, so the first video when he posted, he asked if people are interested in seeing him make more tutorials, and there's a lot of people that want it, so that's why he made the second one. And he mentioned that he's doing a top-down 2D shooter, so that's so that should be, I guess, coming up soon. Just, yeah, you can subscribe to his channel, click the notifications. He does do a lot of other Unity videos, and with, I guess I should mention this, but it's not, when you're using Bolt, it's not just the Bolt videos are the only ones that are going to help you out. It's actually, if you look at any of the Unity tutorials, they're actually going to help you out, because the idea behind how you go about solving some issue is actually same. So if you use Bolt, the only difference is you write the code to solve it, or you use nodes, so visual scripting. That's why it's visual scripting. You still have those functions, I guess, or more correct, I guess, methods that you can run, but it's just you're using nodes instead of actually writing them out. So you still have this almost the same functionality as you do with code. It's not the same in Buildbox. Buildbox, if you there isn't any low level nodes that we have here, so there's things like get scene or like get any old information in the scene. If you want to do that, you'll have to go into the code and write that out. But in Bolt, there's tons of nodes there, and the reason is because basically every single method that you have in a class is basically available for you to use with a node. So that's why I'm saying, like, if anyone is interested for some specific trying to do something in Bolt and there isn't a Bolt tutorial, just try to find a Unity tutorial on it, and you will get based on the code that they write and the functions that they use, you should be able to get an idea how to recreate it with Bolt. Please make an endless runner game with Bolt for mobile. So if you're looking for the endless runner game, you can check out the, okay, that's the gem. You can check out the SP node that I created. So this one right here. So in itch.io, the nodes for Unity. So in here, I actually created that endless runner type of game, but it's not in Bolt. But still check out the video and see how you would go about creating the endless runner game. So it's a little bit different than in Buildbox, because in Buildbox you just set up the scene and everything is configured for you. But the approach of making endless runner game in Bolt is more of how I showed the recycling of game objects. So the recycling game object, you can actually kind of use that for your endless runner. I mean, I do have plans for making the endless runner, and I'm not sure when I'll get around to do that, but that is on the list of things to do. So I wanted to it's not just setting up just one endless runner. Because the game that I created that keep the tractor going, it's endless runner, but how I make it work, it's procedurally generated or randomly generated, and that's the way that I created that it's endless. But if you're trying to create the endless runner with pre-built scenes and just choose random scene that you want to, scene or parts, then it's a little bit different approach than what I showed in that video. And I wanted to create a system actually to so that it'd be easier to implement that in Bolt. So that there are already a couple graphs that I created for my tutorials, and I'm still debating if I want to put them on my website, just like I have the Buildbox nodes there, or just to drop it in the Discord and have a channel for on it in the Discord. So still trying to figure it out what's the easier way of doing it, but that should be coming up soon. Helix jump tutorial in Unity. Helix jump. Okay. So all the requests that you guys are asking for, I'm keeping those down. Actually writing those down so that I can always look at those for ideas of the type of tutorials that you guys are looking for. I can't really do that in like building out the whole game in a live, because if I start doing that, it's just going to take the whole live stream. So if you have a more specific questions, that will be better for a live. If the gameplay is pretty simple, then I can just walk through it. But even for something as simple as Rocket Sky, seemed like it took some time to explain that. Can you please make a zombie survival game in Bolt? I think that's probably what Code Monkey is gonna do. So since it's gonna be top-down shooter, he's probably gonna have some survival thing going on there. So yeah, check that. And keep an eye out on that. He's gonna probably do that. That's my suspicion. Like touchpad. Yeah. So if like integrating UI for the screen to play on a mobile app. So yeah, I don't have a UI for the touchpad, and yeah, definitely something that I would create. So maybe just that input, the UI thing. I'll probably make a side video just outside the series. So keep an eye on that. I'll definitely look into creating the touchpad, because there are libraries that exist for Unity for that purpose, but since the libraries are made targeting like just regular like using code Unity, so it's a little bit, I find it a little bit difficult to integrate with Bolt. You still can, but some of the features are harder to implement. For instance, if the approach that they took to create the library was using the events, Unity events, it is a little bit hard to implement because of there is a workaround that you have to create to pass in variables from the Unity event into Bolt, because Bolt uses custom events which have the ability of having variables, but Unity events are not really integrated into Bolt. You still can do it, but there's a workaround that you have to do. Okay. Can you make a series on survival game? Survival. What are you gonna be surviving from? Just time, food, enemies. Yeah, I guess that is the survival game. Yeah, you can actually implement a lot of game mechanics in there, and that is, you can make it a very simple survival game, or you can actually spend a lot of time on a survival game based on all the game mechanics that you're going to include there. Currently, I'm starting real slow, meaning that I try to create the games that have barely any game mechanics, so that you can actually have a small project that you start with. And yeah, you can always start adding more mechanics and make the projects bigger. But just so that that's what I try to do. So if I just start something, I try to keep this project real small, so that you can complete it, and your next projects can be better than your first project, because you have more experience. And that way you can grow, and the speed of you creating something increases. And when you grow the projects, the time that that it takes you to create those projects is not increasing as bad. Because if you're learning something new and you start with a big project, you might get yourself kind of disappointed because you can be stuck on it for too long, and you might get bored and stuff like that. And yeah, can you tutorial on FPS using Bolt? So yeah, the FPS is something interesting that to create. Currently, I'm trying to create an RPG style game. So that's what I'm working on that on and right now. And yeah, I am already looking for what type of game I'm going to be creating next. So FPS is definitely on the list. Any tools available for integration ads in Buildbox game? So you can only use AdMob ads if you have a pro version now, and they do not take any revenue, as far as I know. Right? They keep changing the licensing, so I'm kind of lost in what they're doing right now. So the Plus has the ability of having AdMob integration in the Pro. So if you have a free version, you can't do that. And okay, and it used to be only the free version that they took percentage, but it seems like the Plus version actually they take the percentage for the Plus version. So if you let me pull that up. So this is their licensing right here. So they have the free, Plus, and Pro, and the Pro has all those check marks, and the Plus is the first license that you can actually export to mobile, and also integrate AdMob in it. But if you look at our games with Buildbox royalty free, right here they say that monetization partners AdMob and IronSource in Plus version of Buildbox will take percentage of the advertising revenue your app collects. So I guess they're still keeping the revenue percentage for the Plus version. So that's, yeah, that is Buildbox right there. That's the main reason why I kind of moved away from Buildbox, is because of their licensing. I think the licensing setup is gonna make it I mean, I guess discourage from new people to actually start using it. It is pretty simple to create, so if you things into it, you are limited to what you can create. But if you have if you want to throw like a quick game together, which I see some YouTubers actually are doing that, so they're just they just get some money from making the game. So because they have a large community, they throw a game quickly together, put some ads, and just make a video about it and get tons of downloads, and they can make some money that way. And yeah, I guess Buildbox would be as much easier to go about to just create a quick money when you have a large community. But if you don't have a community and you're starting from scratch, then yeah, you can create games real fast, but the downloads and stuff like that, that's going to be the hardest part about creating a game, making a successful game, I guess. The marketing portion of it. The second part is basically the same as the first part, which first part goes to next level after defeating the enemy in the second part is after defeating the enemy want to appear a door or a gate. So yeah, in that case, if you're trying to get a door to appear, you would, if you want to appear, well, I don't know where you want it to appear, but basically in that case, what you would do is instead of having the level selector and next level on the level config, you would throw an event. So you would have a send node, and here, like just I guess door or whatever, appear, whatever you want to call it, send an event, and on the door in your level you would receive that event, and on collide with the door you would trigger the level selector and the next level. That's the only thing that changes. So you just have like an extra step that you're adding between the level selector and the single threshold, and you connect those using the events. What AI system on Unity do you recommend? What AI trying to use? So, what AI system on Unity do you recommend? Didn't really look that much into AI, and I'm not like AI for NPCs. Is that what you're looking for AI for, or I'm not sure. What's better, Playmaker or Bolt? So Playmaker, Playmaker has more higher level, I guess, nodes than Bolt. So if you're looking for something that is already has a built, I guess, components closer to what Buildbox is, then yeah, Playmakers can be closer to that. But with that, Playmaker also has more limitations, what you can do, and I didn't really spend that much time with Playmaker, but as far as I see, it's more like a state machine approach that you have. And you have to like basically make your game work with state machines. Bolt has both, so you have the flow machine, which you can kind of create the flow of how the game runs, and that's closer to how the code works. So the flow is a closer representation of the if you would code something, And they also have a state machine as well, and you can basically change what code you run on based on the state you're in. So definitely Bolt has more capability that way. With the quick look that I did with Playmaker, I do find Bolt easier for me to use, and probably the reason is because actually I do have a lot of coding experience, so it's easier for me to understand Bolt. Playmaker, you basically have to learn Playmaker, and if you're looking to learn code and eventually maybe to switch to use code, then I definitely recommend using Bolt instead, because it's gonna give you that picture, a better picture of how code works, and it is gonna give you a like a start in that direction. Also, the biggest reason why I went with Bolt instead of the Playmaker for making tutorials, because they made it free. I did start Bolt like I think a day or two before they released it free. I didn't know that they're gonna do free, but I started the Bolt tutorial because of a game jam that they had, and I guess there was a good choice that I guess that I did, because they did make Bolt free the next day. So that's something that was like just, I guess, pretty cool. Thanks for Bolt tutorial. Look forward for more content. Okay, hey man, can I ask how can I make a if statement with Bolt? So the if statement, there isn't a node that is just, there just is a if statement. Let me see. This is the current project that I'm doing, the inventory, building out inventory. Something that I did start at one point in Buildbox, but that kind of got a little bit complicated. So let's just create a test graph, add a graph, full screen. So the if statement, if you know a little bit code, the if statement only accepts booleans, so true or false. That's the only thing that it gets. And for that, there is, if the closest thing to the if statement is actually going to be a branch, because that's how the if statement works. So if it's true, you're going to do something. If it's false, you're going to do something. So this is how an if statement, basically the branch is actually an if statement. If you want to do like if else, then you can connect for false another condition that you check here. So that's going to be like if, and then if else, and then else is going to be the false. So this is basically the if statement in Bolt. It's the branch. And the conditions that you want to check here, so for instance, you have logic operators right here that you can use. So if you're comparing values, if something is greater than something, you can use the less than, greater than, equal. And if you have multiple conditions that you're checking, you can use the and logic and logic or and stuff like that. So for instance, if you want two conditions, if something is less than something, and then you can say if something equals, and you can pass in those values in here, and that will be and those comparisons are going to go to decide if your statement is true or if your statement is false. So that's the if statement. Okay, seems like there's no more questions, so I think I will end the live streams here. Thank you very much for everyone that joined. And I hope I answered most of the questions that you had. And see ya a little bit later.